All right, we are live. I want to welcome Angie and Michelle to my show. Thank you guys very much for being a part of it.
Hey, my pleasure. Glad to be here.
Yeah, me too. Thanks.
All right. First off, I wanted to say how you guys got into writing, and I know you do your blogging, Angie, and like how you got into caching firsthand, and like if you guys have anything in the future planned for geocaching wise, and if anything other than geocaching you want to talk about, that's fine too. So whoever wants to start, you guys could.
Angie, I want to know about your blog. I haven't heard.
Oh, well, I started blogging after my daughter was born, about 3 months after she was born, because I just needed something to do. And I like writing, and I haven't really been able to write, for myself since I graduated college and stuff. Wanted to keep writing. I don't know. I just felt like I was losing my brain a little bit, And for the most part, I feel like I blog about geocaching in North Dakota and just different topics that interest me that come up in the community.
So is the name of it GeoJangie? Angie.
Yeah, GeoCaching Jangie. The Jangie is like John plus Angie.
Right.
That's my husband's name.
Oh, okay. I wondered where the J came from. Thanks for that. Helps me remember it.
Our joke is, I do most of the geocaching, so it's Angie, and then the J is just the, John's there too. Mainly Angie.
So if somebody wanted to find your blog, how do they find it? What?
It's geocachingjangie.com.
Okay. I'm writing it down so I can tell people too.
So
Now, how did you get the idea of actually writing your book and all that you had?
Well, about the same time when I started the blog, I started looking for geocaching kids books, like little kids books, because you sit down and you're alone with your kid and you're like, I want to read something that I find interesting too. And so I was like, there has to be a geocaching book, right?
Yeah.
And there really wasn't. I mean, I found one and I ordered it, but there was one. I was like, how come there's not more geocaching books? And so I decided to write my own with my mom. My mom illustrated it.
Oh.
So it was a good project between the two of us. It took a long time, though. I don't know about you, but I used Creative Space through Amazon to get it published because I didn't know how to do anything like else. I just didn't feel like it was probably going to get picked up by any big thing anyway,
Yeah.
So
did you dedicate it to your daughter?
I did, yeah.
Oh.
And now we have a boy, too. His name's Henry. So I feel like we're probably
write another one.
Yeah.
So let's brainstorm titles.
I think we're going to do Henry Hides a Geocache.
Awesome. Yes.
That's awesome.
How old is Henry?
He's almost a year and a half.
Oh, that sounds fun. Yeah, maybe from his sister. Yeah. He hides it.
She'll be in it too.
She'll be in it? Yeah.
I think. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I the first book in my Eclair series, I had, at the time, my granddaughter was 7, and she helped me write that. And in the series, Eclair lives with her eccentric grandma, and she goes to different places all the time. So the one I'm currently writing is Eclair joins the water ski team because my grandkids are on this water ski show team. And kids don't know about this. I mean, it's phenomenal. We have the only show ski team in Indiana. And it's a national event. They travel all over. They do these skills that I had never heard of. So I'm just putting that in the book, kind of like the, Eclair goes geocaching so that kids can learn about that too. So anyway, but kids, they just have a great imagination. So how old is your daughter then now?
She's 3.5.
Okay.
4. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it won't be long and you'll be brainstorming stories with her.
Does Eclair go on lots of different adventures then in like topics that aren't as common? Is that
well, she first goes to Stella's, so that was very difficult for her because she left her parents. She was taken there because you never really know what's going on. But a lot of kids are living with their grandparents for substance use disorders or from death or cancer, or, different things. So I never really say. So it's kind of it can be sad, but so the first one, yeah, everyone is an adventure into something new. The second one, she meets a gypsy, but the gypsy is a specific breed of horse. It's a gypsy vanner. So I tell the whole story about the gypsy vanner and how the breed was named through the story. So yeah, it's kind of a teaching thing. So, but it's also adventure, and it's early readers. So it's just for kids who are like in first grade learning how to read a chapter book. There's only 10 chapters and they're short. So, yeah.
That's perfect.
So what did you study in college, Angie?
English.
Oh, I bet you never needed an editor.
I don't think so. I don't know. I really missed college. I like learning. I hope to get my master's one day. Go back.
Yeah, I love to learn too. I told my husband last week I want to go back to school and get my PhD in neuroscience. Yeah, I think it's a little too late for that, Michelle. Like, yeah, you might be right. But I'm just always, I'm in this stage where I'm just so enthralled with the brain and how just different parts of studying the brain and neuroscience. So, yeah. But I'll probably be a learner till the day I die.
No.
Yeah. So how do you do, so there's this thing every November called Nanowrimo. Do you know what it is, Dan?
No, not offhand, no.
It's National Novel Writing Month. Do you know what it is, Angie? Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I think I have. You like write a novel in November, kind of?
Yeah. Yeah. So most of my novels were written in 30 days.
No.
Yeah. But I mean, they were really bad. I mean, I would have never let anybody read them. But I got 50,000 words or more in 30 days. And so,
wow.
You just break it down into so many bite size and you join this group of people. It's a national thing. And everybody's like, okay, let's go. And you can tweet about it. You can tweet about how many words, you day. And, I can't remember now how many, but I would break 50,000 words down into like 6 days a week. And then I divide how many do I need to write every day. And some days I would write like 5,000. And then another day I might only write 1,000. And sometimes the words would be, I'm not sure where to go to this in the story right now, but I think this is where I want to go. And every single one of those words counted because, you would sometimes, as you know, like you back yourself into a hole and you're like, oh crap, the story's going to end right here. That can't work. So then, but that's still a word. And then you go, okay, from this point on, I'm going to change the scene and I'm going to delete that one. And then you just keep going forward. You don't look back. You don't edit. And then when you're done, you just celebrate for a little while, not for long, because then you got to go back and edit, right? So.
Wow. I started a chapter book, like an adult chapter book a while back, but I only got 3 chapters in. And then I had that same problem. I was like, okay, now I have an outline. Like I know where I want to go, but it's getting there. Like the chapter, sometimes it's like, I don't know. You could explain the chapter in like a few sentences, but you have to like make the chapter interesting to read. So it's like, I don't know. It's different. Different writing than
an illustrating book. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what authors do you guys like that are out there in the world?
I'm reading a book right now about, it's called American Dirt. Oh, I'm so bad. Cummins, I think is her name. I like to read books that are like literature, but they teach me something. So this book is like a family who's hunted down by the cartel in Mexico, and they're migrating to America. And I had no idea about this stuff. And so it's teaching me, but it's also an emotional thing because you get vested into the characters, right? So, but anyway, I don't want to monopolize the conversation here. Well, how about you, Angie? What do you like to read?
I feel like it's changed a lot in the last few years. I used to really like Stephen King and Jodi Picoult and those types of authors, but now I've come to like more of the historical nonfiction. Is that how you say that? I always get confused still. I like them when they're set in like North Dakota, like where I'm from, or Minnesota or Montana, kind of that area.
Ooh,
and then learn about the history, or else if the author is from this area. I really like reading just local perspectives and like historical literature. I think it's interesting.
How about you, Dan? What do you read?
I actually love Stephen King. I'm reading 11/22/63 because I've already seen the series, and I'm actually reading it now. And then I also like history. I find any history book I can. I like to try and find like diaries and stuff like that from soldiers, from even the Civil War and stuff like that, and read what was going on in their life during that. And I also like reading, like especially with like the Civil War and World War II and World War I here and there. But getting a book from one side of the country, like the United States, for instance, and then getting a book from Germany and finding the same battle and seeing their both perspectives on both sides, like what they were thinking at that same battle.
Fascinating. There's always two sides to the story. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've never.
A lot of times they both claim victory, even though they both lost or both won, or they always find a way to claim victory in some way or another. So.
Wow.
So
have either of you read any geocaching books then, besides your own?
No.
Or Dan, have you read any?
I've read your book. I've actually read your little kid book when I did my. I had a library 101 class, and I read your book to the kids because they told me, "Oh, they're all going to be like teenagers," and I go like they're little kids that I'm almost about to step on, and I'm going to crush their whole body if I step on them. And I read that book in front of them. They liked it, and they never heard of caching, a lot of them, so they enjoyed actually seeing that. And actually, after the 101 class, they found a cache in the parking lot that I hid, just a temporary one. And a lot of them got hooked with it. So, and I read your Cache a Predator book. I read it 2 years ago, and I think you commented because I commented on your book that I liked it, and that's how I met you, and I knew who you were. Oh, but that was like 2 years ago, and I read your book, and I got to reread it again.
So once is enough. Well, thanks for reading it. I guess I forgot that. Yeah. You know, if you ask Stephen King to look at his work from when he first started compared to now, I'm sure he would cringe too. Like, I can look back at Cache a Predator. That was the first book I published, not the first book I wrote. But yeah, I see a lot of writing that I would change. But I there's no way I could read it.
But it's the same thing with my videos. Like, I look back at my first videos 4 years ago. I'm like, what was I doing? I'm like, there's a cache over there by the tree. And I was talking so monotone and so low. Like, I can understand why people are like, oh, what were you doing? even if you look at other vloggers out there, they cringe at their early videos. Yeah. But then they progress and everything gets better. So. But
see, if you don't start somewhere, you won't get better. That's just the thing.
Well, geocaching, doing the vlogging part is broken me out of my shell. You can ask my wife; she's in the breath of fresh air in the chat room. I used to never want to go up and talk to people at all, and now I'll go to like an event, or even if we're out in public and we're not caching or videoing, and I'll talk to anybody on the street that passes me. Wow. Like, I'm not afraid to just go up and say, "Hey, what?" Instead, before I used to like fall back and not want to be in the conversation, not want to talk to them, and just avoid conversation at all with anybody. So
you could start a whole business on that. Listen to you. That's a great thing. huge. Like when you could go public speak about how you found your voice and gained confidence through geocaching. You could make that pretty funny too. Anyway.
If somebody would hire me for that, good. I could go out. I could go geocaching everywhere I want then. So
There you go.
Hey, that's something to aspire to, you know.
I'm sure the world needs a public speaker that's a geocacher. You know.
Heck yeah. Let's cheer them on.
Mm-hmm.
My 10-year-old was watching this YouTube video today, and it was about these guys, these young fathers, I think. And they were doing all these science experiments that exploded everywhere. They were putting like yeast and different food coloring and soap, and they were putting it in this swimming pool, and it was bubbling up over every. Like, she is all about the most craziest thing. And if you think about the crazy things that you can do with geocaching to interest kids and have a YouTube channel, well, people are probably doing that already, but it seems like the more out there you are, the more followers you have.
Yeah, it does seem like that.
is there any authors that you've wanted to meet or you've met other like that you've wanted to meet or have you met that are out there?
Have you heard of Ben Michelson? He's from Montana. When I was in elementary school, there was a writing contest, and I got second place, so I got to go meet Ben Michelson, and it was like the coolest thing ever. And
oh, wow.
That was the only author I think that's coming to mind that I've met.
Yeah. I used to go, when I first started writing, I would go to writers' conferences all the time. And it's what really lit my fire with writing. And so I would just meet a lot of writers, authors, and interview them and then put them. I used to have a blog. Well, I still do, but I don't really do much there. It was called Random Writing Rants. And I would interview different authors, but they were in the Christian inspirational category mostly. But so I have friends that are authors. I'm in a writers group, so once a month, well, we've been Zooming. So, you know, we cheer each other on, or we review each other's books and write reviews and stuff like that. But I don't really have anybody that I aspired to meet and then met. So, but yeah. Can't
How about you, Angie? Is there anybody you want to meet other than who you met?
I don't know. I feel like I know a lot of people who write, but I don't know if, I don't know. It'd be cool to meet J.K. Rowling, you know?
Yeah.
That kind of. But I don't know. I guess no one comes to mind immediately.
I've written to authors a lot of times. And actually 1,000 White Women. I think that was a book that I really liked. And I wrote to that author and told him how much I love that book and why. And I can't remember everything then, but he wrote me back and he was in a really dark place. And so it made me realize that, you know, everybody needs encouragement. And these people who write are no different than you and I, and it's a piece of artwork, and sometimes people can be really critical, but it seems like no matter what I read, I find something to like and to notice that was good.
Yeah. That's a category on my blog that I try to do, is review geocaching books. I think I've only read like 4 right now. I do have both of your books in my Amazon shopping cart.
In mine?
Yeah.
Oh, I hope
it's coming, but it's taking a while.
Well, I hope that you're an Amazon affiliate, because then anybody who buys my book and then gets on there and buys something else, you'll get some money.
I was, but I couldn't make enough sales, so
yeah,
it kicked me out. I'll probably
try. Really?
Yeah. I think, but it's more so I feel like supporting people who are talking about the hobby of geocaching.
Yeah.
And hopefully encouraging, if someone wants to write a book about geocaching, they should, because there's definitely not very many.
No. Yeah.
Would you ever consider writing another geocaching book, Michelle?
Yeah, I have thought about it, but I think I would construct it differently from, like, maybe, well, let's brainstorm this. How could we write it? I love to brainstorm, but maybe have a clue, maybe have the murder. I always think of a thriller when I think of geocaching, and maybe that's wrong, but something about clues being hidden in different cache sites, but I don't know. We could make it a romance.
Yeah. Seems like the most subjects that I've seen with geocaching, it's either a how-to of some sort or else murder. I think there is one that might be a romance that I've seen, but geocaching is associated with murder a lot of the time, I guess. Hiding bodies in the forest.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
But when you think about, so I like to study the anatomy of a story and the fictional elements and how things happen. So you have this ordinary world and then things happen and there's a fork in the road and they have to make a choice. And most of the time when it's a romance, the man feels one way and the woman feels another, and they are in dissonance. There's a conflict there. And so if you think of geocaching, you could make that romance about somebody who's opposed to geocaching, but that doesn't really make sense, So I just don't know how you would construct that.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
No ideas? I don't know.
Not off the top of my head, I don't.
Or you can make it a soap opera, right? So the geocaching team and their lives, and make it more like a sitcom or a little mini series of their families and what they do. Yeah, that would be an option.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure my daughter could come up with something really cool that I would never think of,
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably true.
And they probably have the better ideas because they don't think before they talk, so they'll just spit out whatever they want to talk about. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're not inhibited. I know my grandkids aren't, and that's really a good thing. The 10-year-old had to write a fairy tale. And so I said, well, fairy tales are in public domain. So that means you can just write your own rendition of it. That's why you see so many Beauty and the Beast and other things. So I said, pick a fairy tale. So she picked Jack and the Beanstalk. And I said, now, whose point of view can you write that from? Last time it was from Jack's point of view. And she said, let's write it from the giant's point of view, right? Mm-hmm. And so, you could even take a fairy tale and throw geocaching in there somewhere. Jack and the giant go geocaching or something up the beanstalk. I mean, so the sky's the limit. You just have to have imagination and not feel inhibited, but you also need those fictional elements to make it jive, or people are just going to be like, that made no sense. So
sounds like a good next series for you there.
Oh yeah.
The geocaching fairy tale series. Yeah.
I'll write that down.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, when you first wrote Cache a Predator, you had never found a cache before at all before you wrote it? You were just getting ideas from people they like you just randomly talked to?
When I first started writing it, I hadn't. But then I went out and did it so that I could, kind of go through the motions of understanding it. Because sometimes I feel like when we don't know things and we write about it, it's easier for the reader to learn with us. because if I knew a lot ahead of time, I probably would have assumed that the reader knew when they hadn't. So I was able to give like this perspective of somebody who didn't know. But no, I did in my community. Like I told you earlier, though, I had trouble with the app on my phone. I don't remember what the app was now. I had several different ones that we tried. But I'm going to try these others that you mentioned because that I think that can make or break your time, right? Is having a good app on your phone to find it.
Now, how'd you originally find out about caching? Like part of it, like before you actually wrote the book?
A writer friend, like I said, we would get together. I would meet other writers and we would read something from what we were writing, and then we'd brainstorm. But this one girl said to me, "You should write about geocaching." I said, "What the heck is that?" So, and then my dad was really creative. So I would brainstorm with him about ideas. And anyway, it just kind of evolved from there. So, but yeah. And they say, Angie, I'm sure like they'll tell you, agents will tell you, okay, you wrote a children's book, stick with that genre, right? Well, I wrote a children's book, a thriller, a historical fiction, a memoir. I mean, I've done everything wrong, right? Because I can't brand myself. I'm not the geocacher writer. I'm not the memoir writer. But I don't know. I just like to write for a purpose. So like the last book I wrote was Mom's Letting Go Without Giving Up. So it was 7 steps to self-recovery. It's for moms of addicted loved ones. So that was my nonfiction, purposeful book to it's a tool for moms to help them get to transform into a mom who can cope with a loved one self-destroying, right? So very, very different. So anyway, I'm talking too much.
No.
I got a question for you, Angie. When you go caching, do you leave long logs or do you just do the TFTC?
I do a little bit of copy and paste on my logs, but I usually write at least like 3 to 4 sentences probably on the top, and then I do a copy and paste, like what I was doing that day, like why I was there. Like that's what I copy and paste.
So
Yeah,
wait, I don't understand that. So are you asking her when she goes, like when you go and you find the cache, there's a little log and you usually put your name and the date, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do a long version of that?
Well, you do it on the website. When you log on the website saying you found it.
Yes.
An example about how long my log is.
Oh,
Half the screen size of an iPhone. So probably a little bit longer than an average person, right? Or not?
yes, because I get those. Because mine are hidden in cache sites, so I will get logs from people, and sometimes they are long, and sometimes they aren't. What's the etiquette on that? Am I supposed to write back to all those people?
For the trackable stuff?
Yeah.
No, you don't have to.
Okay.
Like, when's the last time you got ping on one of the trackables? Do you remember? Or?
Well, just last week, I think I told you somebody wrote from Australia that they found it, and usually they'll say something. Sometimes they'll say, well, they saw it because they were at an event. Mm-hmm. But other times it's where they say, oh, I found it and I moved it to this, or hey, is it okay if I move it? I'm leaving the country. I'm going to bring it here. So then, of course, I will respond. But I just didn't know what etiquette was on that. But good for you for writing long, because I bet they want to know that.
Well, I feel like it's for 2 reasons. For them, they can know a little bit more about why I'm there and why I appreciate their hide. But then for me, I can look back and see what was going on that day. It's fun to look back. You guys, what is your name, Michelle? Can I ask?
It's in Indiana Scribe. So it's IN and then Scribe, SCRIBE. But I don't think I have but a few finds that I recorded. I just have trackables. So
pretty good. I don't think a lot of people have trackables that they release nowadays. It's not as common.
Oh, really?
I don't know. People don't trust other people with their trackables, so.
Well, I used it as a marketing ploy. So like I planted one book in every single state. Well, first of all, I went to a Facebook page and I said, hey, I want to send this book, because this was the first one. I said, I want to send this book to a person in every state who owns a site and can manage it. Can you plan it in there? And each book had the goal to move to all 50 states.
That's a really good idea.
And so, I mean, I haven't marketed it for a long time. I haven't done anything with it, but it did. I mean, it was like really fun to watch. And I should have gone in to look and see how the longest one was. It's tens of thousands. I think it was like 90,000 miles was the farthest one had gone. And, they show you the map, and so you can see all the different places. It's just fascinating.
That's impressive. What about you, Dan? Do you still release trackables?
No. I have, but like you said, a lot of them disappear. Like I had one, surprisingly enough, we met somebody at GeoCaching a few years back. And I put out a cat to go to Pennsylvania, and instead of going to Pennsylvania, I went down to Florida from Georgia. And it disappeared for, I think, 2 years. And all of a sudden I get a phone or an email saying, hey, we found this trackable in a dorm room that we cleaned out that hadn't been used in a couple of years. It says geocaching, and they messaged me on the thing saying they found it, and they actually mailed it to me. It had been sitting in a vacant dorm room for like 2 years.
Wow. Yeah, that person could have died. I mean, you never know, but probably not.
But yeah, it's hard to release them. I don't release the actual trackable because a lot of these coins nowadays are so fancy, you don't want to release them into the world because they're going to get taken. And right now, I don't even want to activate some of them because there's so many armchair loggers out there. I don't like there's stuff in my personal collection that's only seen at events when I just bring it out for like a day or two at an event, and all of a sudden I'm getting 50, 60 people from Germany, 50, 60 people from Australia logging it that they've seen it at an event. I'm like, there's no way it's raiding my house right now. So it's.
Well, wait a minute. I don't understand that. When they say they saw it at the event, they didn't see it physically.
Well, what they'll do is some people will write down a whole bunch of trackable numbers on a piece of paper if they see it somewhere, and then they'll bring it to an event and just have people copy off the piece of paper.
Oh.
I don't know why. It seems so still. I don't know. I just did something this weekend. I was organizing my trackables, and I decided to delete some logs from one of my trackables. So I have one for Sophia, and I showed it like publicly on my blog and let people discover it. But since then, it's been 3 years, Since then, it's been copied and shared on Pinterest and Google, and it's shown up at events. I don't know, like in different, all over it, and I haven't brought it anywhere. So I decided to just lock it and delete all these logs, and I was receiving like mean messages, like first off, I didn't realize people were going to get notified that I deleted their trackable log. And then second off, I didn't realize they would be so mad about it because it's my trackable. But then I wrote a note, and I don't know. Hopefully, I tried to explain to the people who messaged me, but.
See, what they'll do is they'll have somebody go to an event, and they'll get like the first 3 or 4 numbers off a coin or off whatever that is for a mega event. And then they'll just have a number generator, and whatever pings off that number generator, they just pass it on to everybody else. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
That happens. So things have changed in geocaching since you last geocached.
I need to get with it.
The drama.
See, there you go. There's some more drama. That's how it could, that's how it could start. You could have two geocachers and they're writing to each other through the geocaching site. They could meet that way, right? Like pen pals. That's another way. Oh my gosh.
Like in the forums. I haven't looked in the forums, but
yeah,
people are on there.
Yeah, people meet online all the time, and it's a love story or not.
Yeah.
Well, there's been a couple of vloggers. That I think Amanda Geocacher. I think she had her brother or sister find a geocache, and they got engaged that way through a geocache. So that's a story too in itself. I forgot if it was her brother or sister. They brought him to a cache, and they got the ring out of the ammo box. So.
Oh my gosh! What a great idea!
So.
Nice.
So it does happen.
Yeah. That's creative, huh?
We were geocaching when John proposed to me. It was pretty special.
Oh, you were geocaching?
It was in a geocache. Those people they're thinking ahead. John was just like, we're going to go geocaching and I'm going to propose while we're geocaching.
So
Did he already have it set up?
He had the ring in his pocket. I could see the box in his pocket, but I didn't say anything, but I just had a feeling. He had a giant bulge in his pocket. So I was just gonna let him play it out. And it was really obvious because he was so nervous. It took him an hour or two, to finally ask, but it was cute.
Oh my gosh, you made him spread it out.
Yeah.
Now, did you put a cache out where the location was, or did you was it just right over?
Was in college and we were way over, in Minnesota. So, not nowhere where I lived. But that's a good idea. Just to watch that area. Maybe we'll find another geocache there someday.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you guys go now?
I try to. I haven't in a while because my father-in-law's been here for a couple of weeks, so I haven't been much at all. But even before that, with the COVID, we couldn't go out and do anything. So I was basically doing a video like this a week just to keep my videos going every week. Other than that, I used to go out, it consumed our lives. Me and my wife, we wouldn't go to birthday parties. We wouldn't go to family events. It was oh, we're going caching. Mm-hmm. Then we had to slow down and say, we got to take a step back and say, hey, we're missing family functions. We're missing birthday parties from our friends just to find something in the woods. But yeah, it is fun to do geocaching, but you got to have your friends and your family too. You can't just abandon them pretty much. So.
Okay. There's the beginning of the story right there. Yeah. You were addicted, but hey, that's a healthy addiction, right?
So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. How fun.
Because I know the first few years we went geocaching, we had 3,000 or 4,000 finds in a year. So we were getting good numbers. And then the last probably 5-6 years, we have less than 500 finds every year because it was consuming our lives too much. We couldn't do it anymore like that.
So why has your father-in-law been with you for 2 weeks?
Because he hasn't been here. He's been here before, but not too much. And he's sort of helping me around the house with projects that I have going on. So,
okay.
He's helping me, so it works.
He probably can hear me. Yeah. Well,
I'm sure he's going to see it.
So. Oh, my mom used to say, after 3 days, company stinks, right? So that's why my dad was just here, and he left after 3 days. Yeah, it's exhausting sometimes, but. Well, if he's helping out, that's great. You're lucky.
I like that he's helping me. It's enjoyable. So
good.
I just wish I could help him out more because my job, I'm usually gone until the very end of the day. So I usually can't go outside and help him as much as I would like. So.
Oh, yeah. Huh. So Angie, do you stay home with your kids now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm lucky.
Yeah. What do you do for, well, you probably blog to stay sane, right?
Yeah. It's probably my main hobby that I do for myself.
How many subscribers do you have to your blog?
Not very many. I think last I checked, it was under 100. I can't figure out how to get people to subscribe. I have the box, but I don't know. Maybe I'm not good at pushing that. But
Yeah. Well,
on social media, I feel like I get more people that like your Facebook page or something like that, and then they click on your link to read the new article or new post or whatever.
Yeah. I used to just give away like ebooks on how to write fast, or how to make a book trailer, or, just try to get people to subscribe, for what I thought they were looking for.
What was your first ever book that you wrote?
Who, me or Angie?
You.
Me. It was Scattered Links, but that was the first book I wrote. When I wrote it, the title was Love is Just a Word. And it went through a lot of editing and editors. And that book was probably, oh golly, that's my most proud work. It was really about reactive attachment disorder in children. A lot of foster children, post-institutionalized children have reactive attachment disorder, where those first, year of their lives, they didn't have a bond with a parent. And so they don't know how to have a healthy bond. And it's a real problem. But a lot of people thought Love is Just a Word sounded like it was a romance, and it wasn't. It was a story of a young orphan in Russia who's adopted by a family in the States. And so I changed it to Scattered Links, and the words Scattered Links become a little metaphoric in that her family becomes scattered, like the links of a bracelet that somebody gives her in the story too. So, and that was inspired because we have an adopted daughter from Russia. And before we adopted her, she was in an orphanage for 2 years. And attachment disorders, it was really scary to worry that she would not be able to have a healthy attachment. But she's 25 now and she's great. So she's blessed our lives. But that was the first book I wrote. Fractured Not Broken is option for a movie. I don't know if it'll ever be a movie, but right now that one's option for a movie. And it's a true story. It's a memoir, but an agent at a writer's conference told me not to bother writing that book. He said, don't waste your time. Keep working on that other one, right? I quit writing that book for a while. And that's when I decided to publish Cache a Predator, and I published it on my own. So, I did everything on my own. I didn't know I didn't want to wait for an agent to say yes or no. I had an agent for a while who was shopping around another young adult novel I had written, and it was just taking years. And so anyway, I went back to that woman and wrote Fractured Not Broken. And I'm so glad I did. That story has just changed lives. So that was pretty powerful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You have quite the variety.
Well, I know, but they're all so varied, right? But for me, it's always about the story. It's the story that really matters, and not the genre. So,
is that your full-time job then? Is being an author, writing? No.
No, I started this ministry for moms of addicted loved ones.
Okay.
And so again, I build my own landing pages, and I had an ebook that I wrote, and I give that away for free to help moms. It's also in a paperback at Amazon too. But so then that led them into my private Facebook group. That's a support page. And so like 2,500 moms downloaded that ebook. Oh, hang on a second. Go. Wildest. And then like 900 moms joined the support group, and it's just so sad because these kids are dying every day of overdoses, and moms always feel guilty, like they did something wrong. And so I just feel very spirit-led. I'm a believer, and I just believe that God put me on this journey because we've had this journey in our family. Our grandkids were guardians 10 and 15 throughout their lives. Our son and daughter-in-law have been in recovery now for 16 months, but they were near dead. So I'm just leading that. So I just built all these courses, and I'm going to start a membership, a support group membership, where I'm going to have speakers and just to educate, but also to start this movement, because we have to stop the stigma and the discrimination of this mental health issue in substance use, abuse. So anyway, I could get passionate about that. So that's what I've been doing. I've been writing, but it's more like for more purposeful for moms, for just to continue in the ministry.
That's awesome. Sounds like something that's needed too.
Well, and that's what keeps you going, right? When you hear from people and they're like, you know, oh my gosh, you can't believe how much this helped me, and they're crying, and you're like, okay, I guess I need to keep doing this, but I do miss this fiction creativity, you know, that is always over here. Like my little Eclair is like, I want to finish that book, you know, where she's going to join that ski team. So that's fun stuff, right? So anyway.
You have to be in the right mood. I feel like a lot of the time, sometimes I sit down to write on my blog, and it's like, if you're thinking about something else, I don't.
Yeah.
Even if you have the time, I feel like I'm not gonna necessarily write what I want to write. It ends up being something else.
So when you write something else, what is it? What does it tend to be?
I just have topics about geocaching. That's what I'm writing about right now. I was writing that other book, but I just don't have time. I'm so tired at the end of the day.
Oh, I can't imagine.
I bet.
I don't know. I'll pick it. I'm gonna finish it, but
you will. Yeah. And sometimes it's just timing.
Priorities.
What'd you say?
Priorities.
Yeah.
These are things I want to do, but I need to hang out with my husband sometimes and do other things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to juggle. We retired 5 years ago. I never thought I'd be raising kids again and doing everything I'm doing. But when you feel like, I don't know, when you're my age, I feel like I want to leave a legacy. And I always ask myself, am I doing enough? Am I doing the right thing? You know, so that's why I think my books have always been so all over the place, because it's about the message and what the reader's going to hopefully transform or learn from that, so from the story. But
from start to finish, how long did it take you to write the Cache a Predator and the other book?
Well, Cache a Predator, oh golly. Cache a Predator, was that one? I think I finished that one. Like I did 30 days, you know, 50,000 words maybe in 30 days. I always tried to do something. So I think like Fractured Not Broken, it was piecemealed. And then I decided for Nanowrimo in November, I took what I had and I edited so many chapters every day in the month so that I could then finish it and get it to the editor to then do her part. But I don't know. That book probably only took a year before it was written, edited a zillion times, and then published. But because that was like, I think my fourth one, I kind of knew where to go and how to load it to Barnes and Noble and how to load it to Amazon. And, you know, I knew all the different places and how to write ad copy and what to do. So, but I'm not really answering your question on cache. I guess I don't remember for sure.
You're fine.
But yeah.
How about you, Angie? How long did it take from start to finish for Sophia's?
Like physically writing it, like just me sitting down to write it, I had a pretty good idea what I wanted to do. They're pretty easy to write, but I think from the time we started till the time it was published up on Amazon, ready to buy, it probably took about a year. My mom, I can show you a picture. I don't know. She drew all these pictures, and that took a really long time. I mean, she went to college she ended up getting a psychology degree, but she went for art for 2 years. And so it was just a fun thing for us to do together. Neither of us are like experts at writing or illustrating, but
what a great
learning curve
thing to do. I mean, that's something that your kids, your grandkids will have forever that you did with your mother. That is so special. Great bonding. Mm-hmm. I couldn't have done that with my mom. No way.
I appreciate her doing that too, because I know it was frustrating sometimes.
Well, then you had to learn how to take her artwork and then convert it to the right files to load to Amazon. I mean, I hired illustrators because I didn't want to have to learn that part. I had a sister-in-law who wanted to illustrate it, and I said, I can't use you because you can't bring to the table what I need. I need certain size files. I need certain colors. I didn't know how to tell her and give her what she needed. I don't know how you did that.
I think that was the most frustrating thing, was because this was not our cover we wanted. But when you're using that software, you need to have like certain, I don't know how to we had to have this right here. And that really messes up your cover art. Like we could have hired someone for like $200 to design a cover, or we could do it ourselves. And so the first couple we tried she had to make multiple covers. So finally we could find one that we liked, but it wasn't our first choice. I was really mad about that, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's
what it is.
You end up doing what you can with what you can. Yeah.
Don't judge a book by its cover, right? That's I don't know.
I know. Yeah. Well, covers can sell though. That's for sure. But in your case, it's a genre, so that is going to attract the people. So that's good enough, right?
Now, do you have your book in any other language than English overseas at all, Angie, or is it just English?
No. You my show?
No, I've looked into that in getting it into Spanish, especially Fracture Not Broken. But there is this one site that you could find somebody to do it, but I think it was going to end up costing so much money. But I did get them all in audiobooks. So I hired, if you go to ACX, it's really fun. You go to this site called ACX, and in the right-hand corner, there's a drop-down menu, and you can listen to all these narrators. And you can put in like, okay, I want a woman who sounds like, Southern, or sounds like French or German. Like you can specify, and then they have these little tracks where they're reading something from a book, so you can listen to them, right? So you can go through and you can pick certain ones, and you're like, oh, this is the perfect voice. And then you write to them and you say, what would you charge? How much would I have to pay you if you narrated this whole book? And then starts the work. I had no idea. So what they do is like they'll narrate a whole chapter, and then they'll send you the audio, and you got to listen to it. Oh
boy!
And then you're like, well, at minute mark 2.47, you say, can you delete that? So But some of them were more professional in that they would go in and they would clean it up, right? But the girl who would read Eclair, like in dialogue, when she was reading a sentence, she would say, "Where's the treasure?" She said. You know how you say something in quotes and then after you go, "She said." She would say like, "Where's the treasure?" She said. Like her voice, her inflections were like, "Oh, wrong." How do you know that before you hire them, right? Mm-hmm. So I would send her little audio texting and say, "Can you make it sound like this instead?" And then I was talking to them. But wow, those were projects. But it's another income stream, right? So it's another way to get your work out on audio. I had two guys working on Cache a Predator, and it was the worst nightmare ever. I lost $1,000, and he basically dropped it in my lap, and it was so poor, and you could hear him say, "Oh shoot," like that he messed up, and it was in it. It was so horrific that I just opted to just cut my losses and fire him, right? Do you know, years later, he sent me this little note and he said, I don't know what he was going through, but he sent me a note and he said, "I am writing to you because I am so ashamed years ago when I did that to you." And I think he was trying to right wrong. I don't know if maybe he knew his life was going to be over or what, but he just felt horrible about it. And he's like, it's okay if you don't forgive me, but I really wanted to write to you and let you know that I just feel terrible about that. I'm trying to go through my life and, be a different person. And so I thought that was amazing. I never wrote him back. But it did mean something that he did that. I hope that he's gotten well on in his life. But so I never hired somebody to do Cache a Predator, to do the audiobook, because I already spent enough money, Oh, it was awful. Just awful. Yeah. So, but when I found somebody to write Kelly's story in Fractured Not Broken, I hired a real professional. Oh my golly, she did an amazing job, and that audiobook sells better than any too. So, but it wasn't like a picture book either. Like I don't know, Angie, if it would be worth your while to hire somebody to. You could probably do it yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
Is it? Okay. But
I've never knew the inner workings of all this stuff. It's interesting knowing all of it.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn, and everything's always changing. So I get these emails like, "Oh, Michelle, why don't you hop in on this call and we're going to teach you how to market your book now because everything's changed." And I'm like, nah, I'm tired of that. People want to buy it, they can buy it. If they don't, I'm done. Like it's so much work. So the marketing part, anyway, don't you think, Angie? It's so hard.
You've been really successful though in the Cache a Predator. That's the one I was looking at the other day. And Eclair, I've looked at that one too in the past. You've had quite a few reviews for both of them.
Well, so once I launched them, I would have this whole launching campaign, right? So you have this street team, and they go out and talk about it. But then I would also go on a blog tour. And I would pay a blog tour site, okay? And all they do is read books. And you pay them like a couple $100, and then they choreograph your whole book tour. And so every day I would be on a different blog, and then these people were talking about it. Some of them would read it and review it. Some of them would just share an excerpt. So it was another way to market it, right? But that's all. That's the only reason. And then you enter them into contests, and you get known there, but it's a lot of work. I
think I'm just on social media a lot for geocaching. And then I think the coolest thing that happened to us was that the visitor center in our town came to us and asked to order some, so they have it in their store.
Oh,
That's awesome.
Exciting.
yeah.
It's based in one of the parks in town.
Perfect.
Yeah, that was fun.
I had a soap store down in the village where I lived that would always keep my books. She quit her little store, so it's not open anymore. But I was always so flattered and appreciative that she did that. Yeah, our local author. Yeah, that's cool. That was cool.
The only thing bad about geocaching, it's such a small niche compared to other things out there that it's hard to get noticed once in a while. That's all.
Yeah, you just got to be bolder, Dan.
That is something crazy.
Yeah.
I just watched this YouTuber. My brother sent me a video of this guy who made a ninja squirrel coat. What's that ninja show? You know what I'm talking about? The
American Ninja Warrior?
Yeah, that one. They made a course for squirrels. That's what they did over quarantine. And this guy like vlogged his whole thing about squirrels into these walnuts, I think they were. It was like one of the best videos I watched. It was 20 minutes long. And my brother sent it to me. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to sit here and watch this 20-minute video. But I watched the whole thing. It was that good.
Oh my
I
God.
wish I could do something like that.
You just gotta find that one thing that people haven't done yet. Because there's like
I know.
some of the videos I watch, I'm like, how are they getting the views that they're getting? Because they're the first person to ever do it, and people just keep on coming back.
It was entertaining, and it was like it taught me something, and I left with a better appreciation of squirrels.
You probably learned something. Yeah.
Oh, I hate squirrels. I hate squirrels with a
You
passion.
would like them after this a little bit more, anyway. There's entertainment.
Yeah, I think it depends. You first have to identify your niche. So, I mean, are you gonna speak to kids? And if so, what ages? Or are you gonna try to attract adults? If so, what ages? And really understand who they are and what they like to do. And anyway, just let your creativity go. Ask a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, it's been fun. I'm gonna try. I gotta find something. Like that's one of the reasons why I started this too. Is like it was something that I thought I could get more involved with people and get to know people a little bit more than just seeing them on a geocaching vlog or seeing them in their papers or seeing them there like through a book. You actually get to know the person a little bit better on a personal level. So
yeah. Well, thanks. Thanks for having me and letting me be a part of this. Hey, do you want to do you want to give away? I'll give away a book, 2 books to any of your viewers. I guess you can pick. I don't know how you would do that though.
what I'll do is I'll do a contest video after this video, but I'll have it separately, and I'll just say your books, and just send me a picture of both of them.
Okay.
That I could put in like the ad parts, so then when I talk about it, they know which books you're talking about. So
You can give away one of my books too. If you want.
all right, that'll work.
Yeah.
So that'll be on my next contest. So people in here get a little heads up of a contest I'm gonna have. So
There you go.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that, you guys.
You just tell them if they watch it all the way to the end, you'll have a surprise.
There you go. So
And it's
I
not
appreciate
cool.
you guys for being on the show. So
Yeah. It was nice meeting you, Angie and Dan. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah.
thank you all, and I'll see you guys out there.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Cash with caution. Cash with caution.